on.
Okay, I'm Rollie Struss from the Ames Historical Society. We're interviewing Jack Powell today. He's a longtime resident of Ames, and he was involved with the Manhattan Project. So I'd like to start from the beginning. And Jack, where were you born?
I was born in Avon, Illinois.
Okay.
It's about 40 miles west of Peoria, 20 miles south of Galesburg.
Of Galesburg, okay.
Yes.
When was that?
I was born in June 11, 1921.
1921.
I'm going on 90 now.
Real
I'll
close
be
to
90
real
next
close to
birthday.
being 90, yeah. And the
Yeah.
other thing I want to ask you, is it okay with you if we record this interview?
Oh, sure.
Okay, good. We just like to get that on the record, so. Did you go to high school and college in Illinois?
Well, I went to high school at Avon.
Okay,
We had the community high school in this small town. It was about a population of 800.
oh, okay.
And I think the sign on the highway says 799.
Okay,
That's what I remember. But I was a pretty good student through grade school and high school.
good.
I got I was also a high school athlete.
Oh, good.
I played football and basketball and was a track runner.
Wow.
I ran the dashes,
Yep.
the 100 to 220, and on the half-mile relay team I ran a 220 leg, and I high jumped.
You could run the length of a football field in a hurry then.
Yeah, it was long, about 10 seconds or so.
Wow, for a 100-yard dash. Good.
Yeah.
That's very good. And did you go on to college then after high
Yes,
school?
my coach was a graduate of Monmouth College,
Okay.
and he pushed me in sports,
Yes.
and he ended up recommending me, and I got an athletic scholarship at Monmouth College. And I started there in 1939.
Okay.
And
What subjects did you study?
well, I hadn't had any chemistry in high school, but I had physics and biology.
Okay.
So I was interested either in engineering or science and math. I'm pretty good at math.
Okay.
And but after I got there and got my first chemistry course, that was the love of my life. I got interested in it, and I was very good friends with Dr. Garrett Thiessen,
Okay.
who graduated actually from the University of Iowa,
Okay.
and he got me interested in organic chemistry
Mm-hmm.
as an undergraduate, and I did get a degree with a major in chemistry
Mm-hmm.
and a minor in mathematics.
Oh, that's a good combination.
Yeah, and we accelerated there because of the war coming up, and
Mm-hmm.
instead of graduating in the spring of 1943, which would have been normal, I took courses during the summer and graduated early.
Okay.
Now, I was on an athletic scholarship.
And that was a bachelor's degree at that time?
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
Bachelor of Science.
Yeah. Well, what brought you to Ames, Iowa then?
Well,
This
at
is-
the time we graduated at the end of 1942 because we accelerated.
Sure.
And I wanted to come to do graduate work at Iowa State under Henry Gilman. And so I appeared here on the 1st of January 1943 and enrolled in the graduate college and took a course in chemical engineering and then some math course when I came in. But my draft board back in Illinois was trying to induct me.
Okay.
And I heard that there was a project starting here under Spedding that he was
Right.
trying to recruit graduate students. And halfway through the second quarter at Monmouth College, at Iowa State, I got, well, see, I was talking about Monmouth College.
Yeah, but you knew Dr. Gilman then in chemistry.
Well, he wrote the textbooks that we used.
Right, right.
And that's who I wanted to work for.
Sure. And then
when I came out here.
In contact with Dr. Spedding, you learned about the secret project he was on?
Well, he was recruiting graduate students.
Okay.
So I went to work for Spedding on the Manhattan Project. And I was analyzing uranium turnings that they were making on campus.
Okay.
They had a contract to make 2 million pounds of uranium metal.
Okay.
And we were getting purified uranium tetrafluoride from Mallinckrodt Chemical.
Okay.
And we were reducing it with magnesium here. We had to analyze everything that went into the reduction process as well as the end product.
And you reduced it with magnesium.
Magnesium.
Yes, I remember magnesium was pretty flammable when you'd catch it on fire.
Yeah, well, after the war, we burned the magnesium one night and caused some excitement.
But can you tell us about that?
Yeah, well, that's one of the things that I didn't admit to my boss for a while that I was involved.
Of course.
But after we completed the contract on the uranium, and I was working in a group to prepare large amounts of volatile salts of uranium
Okay.
for use in the at Oak Ridge.
Oh, okay.
And I was working under Amos Newton at that time. But one of my roommates, I had 5 roommates with me, 6 of us, that were all with the Manhattan Project.
Okay.
And we lived down on Lincoln Way above the Cyclone Grill.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And at that time, Herb Hunziker was running that. And we rented the apartment upstairs
Okay.
from him. And we had a dormitory room and dressing room and living room and kitchen. And 3 of us would leave early and go home and prepare dinner and meals from work. Then the rest of us would come and eat, and then the fellows that prepared the meals would go back to work, and the rest of us would clean up.
Were you actually going to graduate school, taking classes while you worked then?
No, once we got on the Manhattan Project, we had to drop out of graduate college.
Okay.
They wouldn't allow us to
Yeah, well, you worked
take
full-time.
courses.
Yeah, you did full-time then under Spedding's
Yeah,
project.
I did full-time under Spedding as a technician, analyst.
Okay, back to the magnesium disposal. What did you do with that?
Well, one of my roommates, Sid Ayers, was contacted by Dr. Wilhelm,
Okay,
who
well,
was in charge of making the metal
yes.
on campus and had been sending magnesium turnings up to the chemistry building.
Mm-hmm.
We had a whole box full of granular magnesium
Wow.
from these small samples
Yeah.
that were sent up over the years. And they wanted to get rid of them. So Dr. Wilhelm asked Sid Ayers, who was now in the Analytical Chemistry group,
Mm-hmm.
but still with the group.
Okay.
And he told Sid how he disposes of it by mixing it with this sodium nitrate.
Okay.
And he expected Sid to burn it during the daytime somewhere on college property.
Okay.
And but Sid came around to me, and by that time I was working with reverse separation.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a long column that went from the attic to the basement of the chemistry building.
Okay, I
in the
remember
back
that.
stairwell.
Yeah, in that stairwell, yeah.
Yeah. And Sid asked me if I knew where I could get some sodium nitrate
Mm-hmm.
to initiate the burning of
Yeah.
magnesium. I said, yeah, there's a whole barrel of it in the attic room right next to where I make up my chemicals to go down. So I got a reagent jar full of it
Mm-hmm.
and took it, and Sid and I and Ray Fisher, who's still
Okay.
living,
Yes.
and Ray's brother Park, who was just out of high school
Okay.
at that time. We took it out and we decided a safe place to do it. We wanted to see how bright it was at night. So at first for 13th Street, met Stange Avenue, there used to be a Y.
Okay. Okay.
And in the middle of that Y was a big pile of gravel, which they used on 13th Street
Okay.
and the highway Stang Road North.
And nothing went west from there, did it?
Not at that time.
At that time, right?
They put the road on west later on.
Yeah. Okay.
But anyway, that was the end of the road that way.
Mm-hmm.
And we got out there and we took a newspaper and we took a handful of magnesium
Yeah.
turnings and sodium nitrate and lit the newspaper and stood back and let it burn, watch it. It burned very nicely, very brightly.
A
So,
lot of white smoke.
so Sid dumped the whole box out. And we stirred up this reagent bottle full of sodium nitrate in it, put it on the newspaper and lit it, and we backed off to watch it. It burned very brilliantly. There's a big towering column, like an atomic cloud, went up from it. There's magnesium oxide that was carried up by the air currents, and it was lighted underneath by the magnesium.
Yeah.
It was higher than the WWII tower.
Oh, wow. That's a big cloud.
And we just got it going good, and we heard a siren. So here we've been caught red-handed, but the police were on the other side of the railroad coming out from 6th Street.
Okay.
And so we hopped in Sid's car. Sid was the one who had an automobile at that time. And we had gas ration cards, and we contributed gas to Sid.
Sure. Okay.
He used to take us places,
Yeah.
the fellows who were in the apartment. So we hopped in his car, and by the light of the fire, we drove a mile north down Stang Road.
Okay, by the light of the fire. So this all was at night.
Oh yeah, it was
Okay.
all at night. Yeah,
Okay.
it was actually after midnight,
After midnight, okay.
and so we went a mile north and turned east and came back to Grand Avenue.
Yes.
Came back to 13th Street and drove back and admiring the flame. And they were there. They were finally kicking gravel into the fire by the time we got there.
Yeah, well, you can't put it out with water, can you?
Oh no. No, the only way you can put it out is smothered.
Yeah.
But Sid knew that it would be traced to him because Wilhelm had turned the magnesium over to him
Oh, yeah.
and told her to burn it. So Sid went in the next day and explained to Spedding and the FBI agents what he had done. He didn't tell Ray and I and Park were with him at the time. But I guess Spedding said, well, don't let it happen again. We didn't have any more magnesium.
Yeah, well, they was gone.
Anyways, Spedding was a good sport about it.
Yeah.
I didn't tell Spedding till after I'd gotten my degree.
Good.
One time we were at a meeting with people, and Spedding was telling about what this graduate student did with the magnesium. It was kind of a prank. And I said, yeah, Frank, I know, I was there. It wasn't,
Yeah.
by then I'd gotten my PhD under him.
Okay, under Spedding
In physical chemistry.
and physical chemistry. Okay.
And I was a graduate professor dealing with graduate students and postdocs.
In the chemistry department then?
Yes, well, I was with Ames Laboratory, the Manhattan Project. After the war became the Ames Laboratory
Right.
of the Department of Energy.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I was paid by the Department of Energy for a total of 44 years.
Okay.
And I was attached as finally as a full professor
Yeah.
in inorganic chemistry at Iowa State.
In inorganic, okay.
Inorganic. My degree was in physical chemistry
Yes, yeah.
with a minor in inorganic, but I got on the inorganic chemistry staff. And that's where I acted as.
Well, when you were, during the Manhattan Project, did you mention chemistry? Did you do a lot of analytical chemistry?
Oh yeah, I started out doing analytical chemistry under Jim Wharf, who's written a book it's entitled All Things Nuclear.
Yes.
Now,
Okay.
he's at the university, last I knew, it was Southern California.
Mhm. Did you do mostly analysis of you mentioned earlier, the uranium and,
Well, after we got done making the 2 million pounds of uranium,
mm-hmm.
I went to work in an inorganic chemistry group under Amos Newton, and there I prepared kilogram quantities of volatile uranium salts
Okay.
and such things, and prepared beryllium dichloride
Yes.
there,
Okay.
and that's what Norm
Oh,
got beryliosis from.
this picture, okay.
That was at the time I was doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I made he used beryllium difluoride and beryllium dichloride
Mm-hmm.
and other things in his metallurgy process. But he came down with an attack of something in his lungs,
Yeah.
and it turned out that he was diagnosed as beryliosis.
Okay.
So we did research and found out that in the fluorescent light industry that they were having trouble with the wives
Yeah.
of people dying
Mm-hmm.
when they got pregnant. It seems the beryllium is the relative of of magnesium,
Yes.
calcium, strontium, and
Yeah.
beryllium.
In that line of the periodic
That
chart.
line
right?
of elements.
Yeah.
And it seems that it deposits um, in your bones, in your bone
okay.
marrow.
Mhm.
And then later on, when the fetus starts dropping the woman's body
Mhm.
of calcium, it picks up the beryllium.
Yes. Okay.
And they develop lung problems,
Mhm.
which is the symptoms of beryllium.
Yeah. Okay.
And luckily, even though I made very many pounds of beryllium dichloride,
Okay.
I was lucky the first time I made it. You make it by, at that time to get carbon, we had to get ration sugar during the war.
Yep. Okay.
The purest form of carbon is obtained by just eating
In
sugar
Mhm.
and charring it. So what we do is we would mix the beryllium oxide with sugar,
Mhm.
heat it at a low temperature till it charred. Then we'd take this cake and put it in a tube, and then it was in a 2-foot long furnace,
Yeah.
a tube 4 inches in diameter. And the tube was 4 feet long, and only 2 feet were in the furnace.
Okay.
Had a metal plate on the end of it, was water cooled, with the
Mhm.
copper tube was welded to a chlorine resistant metal
Mhm.
O'Neill, and it kept that end of the tube cool. And the beryllium, the chlorine would react with the mixture of carbon and beryllium
Yeah.
oxide,
Okay.
make phosgene, which is Cl2,
Yeah. Which is a
which
poisonous
is the war
gas.
gas.
Yes.
And I ran it through a bleach solution and up the hood, the waste from that. And
Mhm.
at the end of the process, the beryllium dichloride was volatile. It was sublime
Mhm.
out of the graphite boat that it was in back in the
Sure.
bag. It would condense in the front part. And it consisted, a large part of it is crystals of beryllium dichloride, about like rock salt.
Okay. And
And,
that wasn't volatile until you heated it up then? Got the temperature up a little bit to get it
Well,
volatile?
I didn't do that.
Sure.
I furnished that form to Norm Carlson, who used it mixed with
Yes.
reducing agent calcium and things.
And you said a lot of that was sent to Oak Ridge?
Well, not the beryllium dichloride.
Okay. Okay.
We got out of it as soon as we found out that it was toxic.
Yeah.
We quit making the beryllium dichloride, but not until I made,
Okay.
I think I had 500 pounds a barrel, which is beryllium silicate.
Oh, wow.
And I processed it by dissolving it,
Mhm.
crushing it up, and extracting the beryllium out,
Mhm.
converting it to beryllium oxide. And that's what I used then to make
Yeah, sure.
beryllium dichloride.
Yeah.
But I worked with all the beryllium from this 500 pounds of beryllium that we bought.
You mentioned earlier about the 2 million pounds of uranium that was produced here. Was that done in the production?
It was done in the production building on the east side of the campus.
That was called Little Ankeny?
That was the little Ankeny.
Okay. Had you worked in Little Ankeny then?
I used to go down there, but I didn't work there.
Okay.
All my work was on working with the products which were sent
Sent from
up to
there.
the chemistry
Okay.
building.
I've heard a lot of Annex 1 and Annex 2. Were they down at the Little Ankeny building?
Annex 1 was the reduction unit,
Okay.
and Annex 2 was across the road in the farm service area. They had a
Okay.
building over there that had the offices and things.
Oh, okay. Was Annex 1 attached to Little Ankeny?
No.
No, okay.
Well, it was Little Ankeny.
Okay, was it a concrete block structure or?
Well, what it was a old women's gymnasium.
Little Ankeny, right.
Yeah,
Right, okay.
and that was Annex 1.
Oh, okay, okay. And then across the street was Annex 2.
Yes,
Yeah, that was in an existing building across the street there, okay.
yes.
Okay.
And that's where they took care of the bookwork on all that.
Sure.
2 million pounds of uranium
Yeah.
was across the hall in the office part.
Well, I remember reading in one of these insiders from Ames Lab that they had some trouble with the reduction process. They call them bombs, I
Yeah.
think, where they reduce the uranium to pure metal. And one of them blew up and kind of moved the wall. Dave Peterson
Yeah.
described it moving the wall out a little bit.
Yes, it did.
And then the secretaries had to get out by going through the production area, and they finally got moved. Dr. Spedding said, "Well, come back and we'll let you work in Annex 2. So that would be a separate from the production
Yeah.
end. Okay.
Yeah. But they mixed up too big a charge.
Yeah.
Put too much booster in it. And
Well, that's what I guess.
it blew the cap off.
Yeah. Dr. Quixote
reduction
said,
bomb.
yeah, too much booster.
And
When you were a graduate student then under Dr. Spedding, what part did Dr. Wilhelm? Was he most in the metallurgy?
he was Norm's major
Norm
professor in
Carlson.
metallurgy.
Okay. Okay, in metallurgy.
And
Okay.
Norm and I and Dave Peterson, Ray Fisher, we rolled with Wilhelm on the faculty bowling league
Okay.
as graduate students. We
Okay, with this picture inserted right ahead of us here, they'll see what we're talking about with Norm Carlson and you back in the younger days. So going on with the story then, Norm was under Dr. Wilhelm in metallurgy.
That's
And-
right.
Yeah, and you didn't work directly or under Dr. Wilhelm so much as you did Dr. Spedding.
No, but I saw him.
Oh, certainly.
Back in the Manhattan Project days, we had Thursday night seminar, which was an information meeting, and the technical staff, and not the laborers,
The production labor.
would go down. We sat around a big table with Amos Newton and Elmer Fassel and the other
Okay.
people who were group leaders. And we were kept up to date with what was going on with our product around the United States at Oak Ridge and at Hanford, Washington.
Okay, did you know what the end product of the Manhattan Project was at that time?
Oh, absolutely.
You did.
I knew what it was going to be at the time I joined the project.
Okay, okay.
Back when I took modern physics my senior year in Monmouth,
Mm-hmm.
my physics professor, Dr. Finley, had me read an article that had come out in a journal at that time about the French attempting to build a nuclear reactor to get a
Right.
chain reactor.
Okay.
And the minute when Spedding hired me, and before I got cleared, he only told me that I'd be working with a heavy metal,
Yeah.
some no more dangerous than barium,
Yes.
he said.
Well,
But he
did,
said that, of course, as a chemist, I had to know what was uranium.
well, yeah. Yeah, that was the last element in the periodic chart when I was in college.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's absolutely right.
But did Dr. Finley know Dr. Fermi, who built the first reactor then?
Not at the time he
Okay.
was teaching me.
Yeah,
All he'd seen was this item in
yeah, in the journal.
the journal. And, but he'd called it to my attention.
Sure.
So as soon as I found it was uranium, I knew what we were up
Yeah.
to.
And a lot of that 2 million pounds of uranium went to the first reactor under Dr. Fermi, didn't it?
Yes. Well, Fermi was an Italian,
Yes.
and his wife was Jewish. So he had to leave Europe because of his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And he came over and was at the University
Of Chicago?
Of Chicago.
Yeah.
And when they talked Roosevelt into starting the Manhattan Project,
Right.
he was involved and commuted to Chicago every weekend
Mm-hmm.
and met with him up there because he had been hired and got into this because he was an expert in rare earths.
Yeah.
At that time, they couldn't really separate him. They
Yeah.
used fractal crystallization, and
Right.
that most of them had very doubtful purity.
And that the distillation columns that you had in the chemistry stairwell, you could separate the rare earths, couldn't you?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's what we did there.
Yeah.
Later, we tried separating isotopes
Oh.
with that system too, because they're more difficult than the individual rare earths.
Well, yeah, the different isotopes of an element have about the same chemical characteristics, don't they?
Yeah, well, they have the same chemical characteristics, only a minor difference,
Oh, okay.
very small.
Yeah.
And it turned out ion exchange. I separated isotopes
Okay.
on ion exchange, got nitrogen 14 and nitrogen 15,
Ah, sure.
among others. In fact, Iowa State has the patent
Mm-hmm.
in the Iowa State Research Foundation.
Okay.
It's
And Oak Ridge separated the uranium isotopes by gaseous diffusion, didn't they?
and gas centrifuge
Yeah. And,
and the
gas
calytron,
Oh, okay.
which was a big cyclotron type.
Yeah. Okay.
They have 3 of those methods going. They still have them
Yes, at Oak
at
Ridge.
Oak Ridge.
Yeah.
And
Okay, and the different elements of the Manhattan Project, was it Dr. Compton was leading the Chicago effort?
yes,
And there was some of it going on in the state of Washington?
yes, Hanford, Washington
Yes.
is where they started doing some of the isotope enrichment.
And actually made the production of plutonium in the reactors, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah. And
After the Fermi reaction.
yes.
Right, yeah, that was the first
Okay.
chain reaction.
And Seeborg was at Berkeley, Dr. Seeborg? Was he in California at Berkeley?
I don't remember for sure.
Okay. And Oak Ridge then separated the isotopes. Did they also work on plutonium down at Oak Ridge?
They didn't have too much to do with plutonium, except that
Okay.
they built a reactor down there,
Yes, okay.
and were making some plutonium
And then,
on the scale up before it went to half.
okay, and Los Alamos then assembled the atomic weapons, didn't they?
That's right.
Okay.
And they both assembled enriched uranium-235
Mm-hmm.
and plutonium.
And plutonium, okay.
The first bomb
Was a
at
plutonium bomb, was it?
Los Alamos was an implosion bomb
Oh,
on plutonium.
Plutonium, that was at Alamogordo.
Yes, at Alamogordo,
Okay, okay.
which is close to Los Alamos.
Yes, yes, okay. Did,
The-
did all of these people trust each other that Fermi knew the reactor would work and they were doing this? Were they more or less, they did it all in about 3 years, didn't they?
Well, the French thought they could do it too,
Yeah,
but Fermi decided that it was a matter they weren't getting the uranium pure enough.
okay.
And we had the purest uranium metal available anywhere
Mhm.
from Iowa State. And it was the 2 million pounds added to it.
Shut it off.
Do you want to make a comment about all of the different localities that were working on the Manhattan Project in Manhattan District, in Chicago, at Ames, at Oak Ridge, in Washington, at Berkeley, Los Alamos, and they built a weapon, an atomic bomb, in about 3 years.
Yes,
Did they trust each other?
well, of course.
But did it happen in a sequence, one step first and then another step?
Step after step. First
Okay.
the reactor at Oak Ridge. I mean,
At Stagg Field, Chicago.
University of Chicago.
Mhm.
Under the stadium.
Yes. I've seen that picture where Dr. Spedding was in the audience around the control
Yeah,
panel when they started, yeah.
yeah, he was there.
Yeah. And then the plutonium, see, Dr. Seebeck had discovered plutonium as a transmutation from uranium, but they didn't really make any plutonium at the state of Washington at Hanford then until after the first reactor,
No,
okay? And then they would make that, and was that then sent to Oak Ridge for separation?
well, most of the purification of plutonium was done up at Hanford.
At Hanford, okay.
Yeah, most of it was done there.
So they then sent the plutonium to Los Alamos, where Oppenheimer could work with his team.
Yes,
Okay, okay. And Oak Ridge did mostly the uranium separation in.
that's right. They were working on getting uranium-235
From the 238, yeah.
enriched badly enough that it would make a bomb
Yeah.
out of it.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of uranium-235 and the amount of plutonium needed is about 15 kilograms.
Right, right.
But that is something about the size of a softball
Yes, yeah.
because the density of it's 19.
Mm-hmm.
It's 19 at times as heavy as water.
Yeah. And the uranium-238, I think is called spent uranium, or it's not fissionable. Waste.
They have tons of uranium-238 hexafluoride
Yeah.
down at Oak Ridge. I've seen the stainless steel tanks of
Yeah,
this.
I have too, and it's barrels and barrels and barrels of it out
Barrels
there.
and barrels and
Yeah,
barrels, right.
yeah, I've seen that too, yeah. Yeah,
And
but nobody really knew that it would actually work in a weapon until Oppenheimer did the experiment at Alamogordo.
that's right,
Okay,
yeah.
and that was an implosion device, which I do understand. And
Yeah, they had focused charges of explosives
right.
that sent a shock wave into the core,
Mm-hmm.
which they say wasn't all that big.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of my roommates during the Manhattan Project was down at Los Alamos
Oh,
when
okay.
that took place. He was one of my close friends,
Okay.
and he got wind of it down there that they were going to make a test, And so he and some of the friends from the lab sneaked out through the security and got up on a mountainside where they could see the tower where the shot was to take place. And he said it took him hours to get back there, avoiding the patrols.
Oh, I'll bet.
And he said when he went off, it was so spectacular. He said that it didn't take him anywhere near that time to get back to where they left the car.
Were they close enough that they could feel the shock wave too?
Oh, and see it.
Yeah, and see the bomb, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And General Groves was the head of all of the Manhattan Project.
Yes, yes.
He went to that site then after the weapon, didn't he? And saw what was left of the tower.
Yeah.
I think there was a picture of that, yeah. Okay, and then did Los Alamos continue then after that first demonstration to make the weapons that were dropped over Japan? Or?
Well, they're still operating down there.
Yes, yeah. But were they already making a uranium bomb, and which I call a gun type, and the implosion plutonium bomb that was used over Japan?
Hiroshima was the plutonium bomb.
Right, right. But that all happened pretty soon.
Nagasaki was uranium gun type bomb.
But that
they were pretty sure it would work.
Okay, okay. So they had confidence.
They were confident it would work. They'd run tests of neutron enrichment in the fission process. They'd done some. Well, I guess they had some physicists got irradiated and eventually died from it, but they called it tickling the dragon's tail.
Yes, yeah.
They had a near critical mass of the substance put together, and then they were lowering a charge into it and watching the multiplication of the fission radiation from it.
And they did that at Los Alamos, and one of them got away and kind of blew itself apart too, didn't it?
Well, what happened in one place was they accidentally dropped the piece, and it became partly critical. And the guy swept it away with his hand and disturbed the pile, but he got enough radiation that he died from it.
Yeah, I've read about that, and that was done at Los Alamos, Yeah. Okay. Is there anything else that you can recall about how big was the university when you first came here then in the 40s?
Oh, I don't know what.
About 8,000 students?
6,000, I think.
Oh, it's okay.
Was the time.
And that was pretty well separated from the physical town of Ames, wasn't it?
Well, you're out in campus town.
Yeah, we've interviewed Herb Hunziker and his grill down in campus town, but that was sort of, you had to go across the creek to get from one to the other, didn't you?
Oh, to get over on campus.
Yeah, Herb Hunziker, at the Rainbow Grill.
Yeah, you had to cross Lincoln Way, and then you were there by Lake Laverne.
Yes.
And the work on Manhattan Project was on the north end of the campus.
Yes. And a lot of it was, early on, was in the chemistry building, wasn't it?
Yeah,
A lot of the work early.
Most of the work I did was in the chemistry building.
Okay, so you worked mostly in the chemistry.
And first up in the east wing, just off the door.
Okay.
And then when I worked for Newton, it was in the basement corridor that went across the addition to the physics building.
Yeah, okay.
And That's where I worked with the beryllium.
Yeah. Did you get into the city of Ames very often to go to the movies or anything?
Oh, we had a bus, regular bus
A
ran,
bus, okay.
and we didn't have cars. Well, Sid had
Yeah.
a car, and we only got 3 gallons a week or something, or a month.
From rationing of the gas. Yeah.
Ration gas. But all the people in the apartment had gas ration cards, and we supplied extra gas to Sid.
Yeah. What kind of a car was that?
Oh gosh, what I think it was an Oldsmobile coupe or something.
Okay. So that would have been
A
made.
convertible.
Oh, convertible. Okay.
Yeah, it was a convertible.
Yeah. That's just right for the college crowd.
Yeah.
No, that's good. Is there anything else that you can recall about the work? Did the rest of the campus didn't know that the project was going on, did they?
No, we didn't know what they were. They didn't know what we were doing.
Did
But
they
they
ask?
knew it was secret and
Okay.
closed off, and you couldn't get there. And,
Yeah, they had armed guards to close it off, didn't they?
oh yeah,
Yeah, guards.
it was guarded.
Okay.
You couldn't get in without going through
Yeah.
the guards.
Was Ray Fisher also a student at that time?
When I first met Ray, he was still an undergraduate
Okay. Oh, an
student.
undergraduate.
Yeah, he hadn't made it to graduate school yet.
Okay.
He and Archie Wilson, 2 of my roommates, were just graduating from undergraduate
Yeah,
college.
okay, okay. And Dr. Spedding could keep him out of the service, out of the Army by deferment then?
Yes,
Okay,
they kept reclassifying me every month, 1A, and
yeah,
I would take it into Spedding and tell him I got this. And he'd call General Groves
that's what I heard.
in New York,
Yeah,
and then I'd get classified
yeah,
with a secret category,
yeah, okay.
different deferment.
Yeah. Did you know Dave Peterson very well?
Very well, yeah.
He worked mostly under Dr. Wilhelm, didn't he?
That's right, and he did work at the Little Ankeny
Okay.
site.
And
And,
Dr. Harry Seebeck was also in chemistry, wasn't he?
yeah, Harry was already working for Spedding when they came here.
Oh, okay.
He had been drafted, and Spedding got him back because he was trained in glass blowing.
Mm-hmm.
And when I had my lab preparing the beryllium, Harry had a glass blowing lab that I had to go through
Mm-hmm.
to get to where my work was.
Okay. And Dr. Voigt and I guess Dr. Fassel and all of them were at the latter part of the project, weren't they?
Yeah.
Dr. Voigt and everything. I'm going to show you this picture, and it was taken down at the site of Little Ankeny, and I'm going to stop the camera here and put that picture in the sequence, and we'll start up again. Okay, this picture shows the collection of the Manhattan Project workers down at the site of Little Ankeny, where they now have a commemorative plaque fastened to a rock to mark the site and everything. But later on, Steve Carson from Ames Lab, the information office, he succeeded Emmett Dreesen and them. He had the 50th anniversary celebration. Do you remember much about that?
No, we didn't get everybody back to it.
Right.
Sid was down in Texas at that time,
Mm-hmm.
and he didn't come up, I noticed it. But some of our friends came back to it. Of course, Ray and I were there.
Okay.
Jim Orff came in, the one that wrote that book on
Yes.
all things nuclear.
Okay.
And he was my first boss in analytical chemistry.
Oh, okay.
back in the Manhattan
Yeah.
Project. He was still a graduate student at the time, but he was several years ahead of me, and he got appointed as a group leader.
Mm-hmm.
Velmer Faso was a group leader back then.
Okay. So the people that were here and could come back, they gathered for kind of an anniversary party in the middle 1990s and 97.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
It was the 50th anniversary, I think, of
50th.
the atomic weapon shot the first
Right,
one.
right. Okay. Well, that's good that so many of you could be there and recall. I think Steve gave you a white baseball cap or something to commemorate the event. That kind of a party for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier about the high purity uranium that was produced here. I know that the museum down at Sandia Corporation in Albuquerque, which worked on the weapons, the explosives and everything, the ordnance for the weapon, they did not know that Ames had a very big part in all of this at the Manhattan Project. But just about last week, Bruce Harmon in Ames Lab was sent a declassified letter that Dr. Spedding wrote to DuPont, telling them about how Ames did make 2 million pounds of high purity uranium. No one else could do it, and that they turned this process over to commercial industry then, which is DuPont.
Professor C.F. Gray in metallurgy and Wilhelm made the first uranium ingot that was solid.
Okay.
Spedding took it into the University of Chicago, and they couldn't believe that it was solid. Nobody made a perfect ingot of uranium at that time that you could machine off and get. In fact, they sawed it down the middle to make sure there wasn't a cavity in it.
But I heard they even
That
had trouble
kind of
sawing it.
disgusted Spedding. But
And
it was then that he got to. That had happened in '42, just before I hit campus,
okay.
and they were impressed enough that they gave him the contract to make the 2 million pounds of uranium. They'd already started to assemble a reactor, but they were using uranium oxide in it. It was pure, but the uranium metal was more efficient.
Yes, and that was.
And it was the 2 million pounds of our uranium that they got the reactor off the ground.
Yeah. Okay.
We got the Army Navy E award
Yes.
for production of uranium. I think we were the only university in the United States
The
that
university.
got a production award.
Oh, production award. I think you're right.
Yeah, it wasn't for the research, it was for the production.
Yeah. Right. I think the University of Chicago got an Army Navy E for research, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think several universities, but you're right. Ames, Iowa State College back then, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yes. Not a university yet.
In fact, my degree was from Iowa State College.
Yes. Okay.
Still, and then become university later.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can recall that you would like to have us get a record of, or we've been going on for nearly an hour now, but I don't want to be short if there's anything else that you can think of that you want to mention. Of the working conditions, you were pretty crude in the chemistry building back then, but you got the job done.
Yeah, we were kind of make-do farm boys.
Yes, yeah,
And we would give practical solutions
yeah.
to take care of the wood which we needed.
I
We
think-
made all of our own equipment,
Right,
and Harry Speck was the mass spectroscopist.
right,
He did the analytical work,
Didn't he also do a lot of glass blowing
Oh, yeah.
for the project?
And say he and Breezy Jones
Yeah.
had a glass blowing lab that I had to go through to get
Okay.
to Newton's group where
Yeah.
I separating the beryllium and making kilogram quantities.
Yeah. You couldn't buy this glassware, so they just made it yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, it was all fabricated.
Mhm.
From
Dr.
scratch.
Wilhelm was much the same way, a farm boy that just knew how to make things work and put things together, and
That's right.
yeah.
He was mechanically proficient, and
Yes.
I knew how to jury rig things, as all of us did.
Yeah.
Dave Peterson was a farm boy. Carlson was a farm boy.
Did they also get a machine shop that they moved from downtown Ames to do their machine work?
I'm not sure where.
Seems to me Spedding just bought the whole machine shop and brought the guy that ran it.
I'm sure that's right.
Yeah, okay. But make do, as you said, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's amazing, the kind of work you did back in the Second World War.
Well, we even wound our own furnaces.
Okay,
Figured out how many turns and what length of wire to use,
yeah.
and
They used induction furnaces to preheat the reduction bombs, didn't they?
down at yes,
Yeah.
in the metallurgy division, they
Okay.
put the mixture together, and then they put it down in this pit
Yeah.
where they did the reaction. It was inside a induction coil
Right.
loop,
Hmm.
and they would heat it inductively.
Yeah, I call it preheating, I guess.
Well, preheating, it was just initiating the reaction.
Yeah. Okay.
Once it took off with the booster that was in there, it furnished its own heat,
Okay.
and that's where they miscalculated one time that they had an explosion.
Yeah. And yeah, the reduction is an exothermic reaction, I guess, isn't it?
And it gives off heat.
Gives off heat, right?
And it melts everything and allows the uranium metal and the slag to separate.
Yeah.
And
And
then they open the bomb and knock it apart,
right.
deal with the ingot that they have.
Was that directly in a graphite crucible, or was that in a calcium oxide layer and then graphite, or do you remember?
I'm not quite sure how that was done.
Yeah, but they made their own bombs. For
Oh yeah, it was,
right.
it had screw caps on
Yeah.
the end.
Okay,
And there was uranium reductions.
right.
They were in this soaking pit, they call it.
Yeah, to heat it up. Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Did they ignite themselves, or did they ignite them with an electric current?
Oh, where the induction furnace
Yeah.
itself heated up things right out
Yeah.
inside
Okay.
the bomb. And that's all it took. It would go off its own.
As
They
it,
didn't have to add any heat after,
yeah. Okay.
if they got the thing, the right mixture.
I heard Rick Schmidt talk about the big John Deere spark plugs that they used to set it off finally when it came up to temperature. Do you ever heard that story? Just something to ignite the initial reaction. I think they had that spark plug because it would stand a lot of pressure, and they had a little heating element on it or something. Again, make do.
One of those took place in my lab, and I was there when it went off.
Okay.
Walt Tucker got the job of trying to melt uranium hydride under pressure.
Ooh, okay.
And uranium at about 200 degrees will react with hydrogen,
Mm-hmm.
and the turnings all crumble up into powder.
Okay.
And then if you heat it under a vacuum at a higher temperature, you get pure uranium powder. And a lot of the reactions that I carried out were done on the uranium metal made through the uranium hydride.
What, does the hydride just come off as hydrogen gas then?
Well, it would. You pump the hydrogen
You'd almost
off.
have to, yeah.
But in order to keep that from doing, they made this bomb to try to melt it. Walt Tucker was doing it.
Yes, okay.
And he was just around the corner in the room at the end of that area where it was under Dr. Newton. And he had this to set off with a spark plug.
Okay, okay.
Well, actually, the leads of the thermocouple and so on that were in it,
Yeah.
that they monitored it, went in through a spark plug in the side,
Oh, okay.
in the cap of this
Okay.
bomb. And they had one of those plugs blow up in room 103 chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
Primo Quixote
Yes?
was doing him out, and that plug blew up and
Oh, okay. Okay.
hit the ceiling in there.
Yeah.
And this uranium hydride bomb, they had a pump to pump the pressure on, but they'd use the maximum pressure that you get in pressurized tanks of hydrogen.
Okay.
And they brought it up to that temperature after they made the hydride.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pump would pump hydrogen, build the pressure up
Yeah, okay.
in it. The spark plug in that was just to furnish it thermocouple
The
so we could
the
know
temperature, yeah.
what temperature it was. And they
And
just got this going, and the top blew off of this in that room, and Walt was sitting right beside the apparatus when it happened. But it blew out the window in the stairwell, outside window well. It went around the corner, and the chemistry building courtyard was around the corner, and it somehow blew the glass window in
Mm-hmm.
from an implosion apparently as it was over. Anyway, Walt was sitting there when we went with shattered glass all around him
Oh,
from the back.
okay.
But that was one where they put too much pressure on the spark plug.
Okay, that completes the story there, but a lot of the rare earths will combine with hydrogen to get a hydride,
Oh yeah.
and they're now thinking of trying to use them as a source of hydrogen for fuel cells for cars. I guess Ames Laboratory is still doing work on that
Yeah.
process.
Well, they wanted to use the heavy isotope of hydrogen and make uranium deuteride.
A deuteride, okay,
Deuteride.
okay,
And make yttrium deuteride
yeah,
and use it as a moderator in an aircraft reactor.
yeah,
Aircraft, which was nuclear energy driven.
yeah,
And they were supposed to have out on the wingtips 2 nuclear reactors which furnished the heat
the heat,
for a
okay,
ramjet engine.
yeah,
And we got in, we were the first ones that made yttrium pure enough at Ames Lab.
oh, okay, okay,
In my pilot plant. We made the first 6,000 pounds
yeah.
of yttrium oxide and yttrium metal.
The yttrium is another rare earth, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but we separated. Yttrium is the most abundant element in the so-called yttrium group of rare earths.
mm-hmm.
It's 60% by weight to start with,
Yes.
And so
Okay.
it's the most abundant
Yeah.
method. And when we got the first ones we separated successfully were neodymium and praseodymium
Okay.
from a waste product which they call didymium.
Yep. Okay.
And it was left over from thorium production at Lindsay Light and Chemical Company
Oh,
in
okay.
East Chicago.
Mhm.
They made thorium nitrate
Mhm.
um, from this yttrium-rich ores that they got,
Okay.
and they had these byproducts from that
Mhm.
which we could buy, and they produced some at that time. They were making pure cerium because it's the second of the rarest lanthanum cerium. It has the tetravalent state,
Yes.
and it drops back to trivalent and all the rest of them.
It's amazing at your age, you're getting close to 90, how you remember the periodic chart and the rare earth series and everything. I find that amazing.
Yeah, wow.
That's really, you're doing exceptionally well. Is there anything else about the Manhattan Project or about the city of Ames, the university, or anything that you want to recall?
Oh, Mel Larson was here at the time. He was over in the Navy.
Okay.
He was in the Navy Training School of Engineering. They had a cook and baker school running too, and
Mm-hmm.
as a graduate student, looking for things to recreation, we got in there, touch football system. We used to play the Navy teams
Oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
at that time.
Yeah.
They were housed over in Friday Hall,
Yeah.
and
Well, you needed some kind of activity to,
Yeah.
at that younger age, to run off your energy.
well, we had a bowling team, and we bowled in the faculty bowling
Okay.
league, except we were only half-time employees
Yeah.
as graduate students.
Well, Dr. Wilhelm did a lot of bowling, didn't he?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
he was in the metallurgy team.
Yeah.
We graduate students played with the rest of the teams were older people
Mhm.
from other departments too.
Okay.
But we had enough to get a graduate student team together.
Okay.
They used to let us play,
Well, that's good.
but it was in for a competition. Eventually they kicked us out because we run the tournament too many years in a row,
Yeah.
the younger group of people. And then after I got my PhD and became assistant professor
Yes.
and going up,
Yep.
that's
Okay.
when I was with Norm Carlson and Dave Peterson and Harley Wilhelm and Bob Rundle and other people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
We were on the chemistry and metallurgy faculty team,
Mm-hmm.
and we bowled for years with
That's good.
Wilhelm.
Yeah. And Wilhelm always had his little piece of pipe with some handles on it for a trophy. Yeah, I remember pictures of that. Okay. Well, if there's nothing else then that you want to comment on, I think we'll wrap this up then. It's the 3rd day of February 2011 right now, and we're doing this for the Did You Know project, trying to record the stories from many of the people like you that remember what it was like in Ames many, many years ago. And we'll make a record of this, and we want to thank you very much for sitting down and taking this hour to recall what went on around here then. And the Manhattan Project was such a secret, there are many people in Ames that still don't know about it. So I think that's interesting to hear more about it. Is there anything?
One of the things after they shot the Hiroshima bomb in Nagasaki.
Yeah.
I went back home to my hometown, and I found out my dad had no idea what I was doing.
Right.
Now I know what you're doing.
Now
you
I
said.
know, yeah. And that was true, I think, the stories of many of them. Dr.
Yeah.
Harry Seebeck and everybody could go and tell their wives. And
Well, it caused quite a stir because when the FBI was investigating me to clear me back in 1943,
right.
they went to Avon, they talked to postmaster
Oh, yes.
and people there, and they talked to the neighbors around, examining my character if I ever been in any trouble, you know.
Yeah.
And they quizzed my dad. Well, what's Jack doing? He said, the FBI was checking up on him. What did he do?
Yeah.
But after the war, then they found out.
Yeah, then your dad knew what you've been doing.
Yeah.
That's an interesting anecdote, yes. That's good. Well, I think we'll quit here then, and thanks again, and we'll do a movie out of this.